Hello, my name is Professor Nickel. I'd like to welcome you to a presentation on the springs of Florida. We're basing it around a visit to Wall Springs, but we're going to discuss other springs as well. We're also going to discuss karst topography. This is part of a Parks of Pinellas series that I have been working on. It's also part of my marine biology field class. When we visit Wall Springs, historically, this was a spa and a bathing area for many years, and then it was closed down, and now it's open as a park, but does not have the spa and swimming available. The spring empties into an estuary called Boggy Bayou, and the springs across Florida have a temperature of 72 degrees. It also has the largest open-air observation tower in the park system in the state. Now, karst topography is a limestone or other carbonate-type rock that dissolves. So, typical of karst topography are springs and caves and caverns. They are also accompanied by an extensive aquifer. The water that dissolves them is generally slightly acidic, and it bubbles to the surface. That's called artesian when the opening is below the water table. So Florida has one of the most extensive and productive aquifers in the world, and there's more than 700 springs in the state of Florida. So our Florida aquifer is underlined by limestone. It can be thousands of feet thick, the aquifer. It's generally fresh water on top, and then below is salt water because of the proximity of the Gulf and the Atlantic Ocean. This picture I took in King Springs. This is the source of Crystal River. So that is an underwater cavern carved in the limestone where the fresh water is escaping. You can also see fish schooling up. Now, the biology of the springs, the water is very, very clear, so there's emergent vegetation along the sides. That means the vegetation that grows in the water but comes out. Submergent in little deeper areas, which you have there where the water or the plant is fully underwater. And that fuels the habitat photosynthetic for fish and many invertebrates. Our Florida springs also have microalgae in them, filamentous algae and diatoms. In our area, because we're subtropical and we don't get a hard freeze, we also have mangroves lining the sides of many of our estuaries. If you go further north, you get more salt marsh grasses, and the further south you go, the greater the diversity of the mangroves go. Now, Wall Springs empties into Boggy Bayou, which is pictured here, and that is a mangrove estuary. That estuary then empties into our intracoastals. Along the eastern seaboard, Atlantic and Gulf coasts, we have barrier islands that were formed during the last ice age, and they form an intracoastal waterway, which is kind of a lagoon type setting that we'll be learning about. So our intracoastals in this area are pictured here. Boggy Bayou empties into it. In the North County, it's St. Joseph Sound is the name of our intracoastal waterway. These springs are great for freshwater recreational diving. Now, Blue Grotto is an underground spring that training dives take place, and Crystal River on the right is a very common diving place as well. They are very clear, cool water, 72 degrees. I'm not a cave diver myself. I have dove a few caverns. But the cave diving is a specialty that you'll have to get certified and take courses for, as it is quite dangerous. Manatees enjoy the 72-degree springs in the winter when the Gulf temperature drops below 70. Being they're warm-blooded creatures, they prefer warm water. In the summer, they leave the springs and enter the Gulf, the intercoastals, because the water's warmer. When that temperature drops, they crowd into the springs. There are year-round residents as well of many springs because there's food and habitat available. But their population certainly increases in the springs when the temperature gets cold. So there's a few manatee pictures that I've taken. They tend not to like divers because the bubbles scare them. So you snorkel when you want to visit the manatees. They are protected species and you're not allowed to approach them anywhere but Crystal River. Crystal River has a waiver where you can actually interact with them. Wall Springs, which is a lovely park that we'll be visiting in class, has a butterfly garden, and on the left there's a zebra longwing. In the center there's a spice bush swallowtail, and then on the right there's a butterfly key that is at the entrance to the garden where you can identify various butterflies. On the videos that we visited, it was the winter, and I only saw one yellow sulfur butterfly, so there wasn't a great diversity on that particular day, but many days there's certainly a great deal of activity around the butterfly garden. There are a lot of fish, and you can view them from various platforms in the springs. The springs are an estuary, so there are freshwater fish like the bass and the panfish, and there are saltwater fish like the sheep's head, the snook, the tarpon. There's also tilapia, which is a freshwater. I've seen some needlefish, some sheep's head, and some juvenile drum. So there are a lot of fish that you can view from the platform. Fish love to hide under ledges. This is in King Springs, and there's a lot of snapper that enter the estuaries. King Springs is located at Crystal River. There's the large observation tower that I spoke of, and you can see all of the Boggy Bayou, you can see the spring, and you can see St. Joseph Sounds from the observation tower. So it's quite a lovely place to look over the North County estuaries. Now, development and population, agriculture all provide threats to our springs. The water withdrawal from the aquifer can slow down the flow of water and also cause sinkholes. Nitrates, phosphates, and other wastewaters and fertilizers can cause eutrophication of these waters